Welcome back to Summer Travel 2020. In a COVID world, you may never touch the hotel remote the same way. Actually, you may never want to touch the hotel remote again, period. Hotels are changing their whole operations, though, and their cleaning procedures, trying to convince travelers that it's safe to come and spend the night. Here with more on what this summer will be like for lodging, I want to bring in Sean Hennessey, a hotel veteran and a hospitality professor at NYU. So, Sean, a debate I'm having right now: Airbnb or going to a hotel. Hotels for years have seen their business chipped away by Airbnb and VRBO. Do hotels now think that they have the upper hand here, or are they still worried about people wanting to go someplace where, well, they don't know who was there before or how it's exactly getting cleaned, but at least they know they're all alone. They don't have to go to a check-in desk. How do you see that shaking out?
It's a little early to say how it's going to play out, but I think the hoteliers are right now boasting, or at least putting forth their plans to have their super cleaned rooms and safe environment and so forth. So I think they feel that gives them a bit of an edge. But I think the thing with Airbnb is that a lot of users feel almost like it's a club, and they feel a sense of connection, a hominess that maybe feels for some of them safer than a hotel.
Okay, so the jury's still out on how that's going to break down. Just talk to me about right now what is happening with the bigger hotel chains. How complicated are these reopenings, and how successful do you think they're going to be at getting people to come back in? Do they need to go to bargain basement prices here?
So, yeah, well, certainly early on, as hotels either ramp up or reopen, they're going to offer promotional pricing to try to prime the pump, get people back traveling, get over their fear of travel. And we've already seen, for instance, over the Memorial Day weekend, travel demand was pretty strong in many markets, particularly the drive-to markets. You were talking about that before, but along the coasts of Florida, even places like Arizona, people were driving to from Texas, Colorado, California, and that created a little bit of the start of demand. But it's going to take a long time to get going. And many of the hotels that have to reopen, they have to retrain employees, retrofit a lot of the facilities. And so there's a lot of logistics and expense involved in getting back up and running.
John, going off of that, I mean, hotels, they're already in an extremely tough spot. They've lost, more than $33 billion in room revenue. So when you talk about individual hotels and also major operators, they're projecting occupancies to be below 20%. And obviously, this is a number that's not sustainable for the industry. So how do you see that shaking out? I guess, are some going to go under and be forced to close? And what names do you think are most at risk of that?
Well, you need to remember that in the hotel industry, the large hotel companies that you think of, the Hyatts, the Marriotts, and the Hiltons of the world, they own few, if any, of the properties in their systems. So they either franchise them or they manage them for a fee. So those companies are pretty protected, if you will, or cushioned from the effects of the downturn. The real pain is felt by the owners of hotels who suffer the profit loss. And the ownership is very variegated. There are some hotel REITs, and those have been considered highly risky in this current environment. But the hotel companies generally are doing pretty well. As demand takes time to regenerate, I think we'll see a number of brands get absorbed into larger, stronger brands, because in addition to the run up in new hotel construction over the past 5 years, we've seen a run up in the creation of new hotel brands. So in the current environment, it's going to be very difficult for those early year brands to make it through.
Sean, we spent, and even just in conceiving kind of this program, we talked mostly about what consumers wanted to do this summer, get back on the road, what kind of activities they'd like to do. But the hotel business specifically, that's also a lot about what happens on the business side. And I don't think the business world is talking about travel again, in mass, the way we saw it last year for some time. What kind of impact is that going to have on the hotel industry? Maybe this summer's better than they thought, but when winter comes around and conferences keep getting canceled, that really changes the outlook for a lot of these locations.
Well, there's a couple of ways you need to kind of break that down. Certainly on the conference, the large convention side, that is going to take years to come back because in for those types of events, it takes years to plan them. So the planning cycle, the horizon is far out. In terms of individual corporate travel, I think we're already seeing some small bits of return of essentially essential travel, a lot to Silicon Valley right now that's been reported by the hotel companies. But I think you will see um, a long road back, if you will, because a lot of companies are trying to conserve cash, and cutting back on T&E expenditures is one of the first areas they look. So it'll take some time on the corporate side as well.
I know you worked in the industry for a while. So among your contacts, are they having any sort of internal debate about wanting to get their business going, wanting to get people back, but also worried about a second wave, or just the people spreading around and people traveling could be an issue? How are they walking that line?
Well, I think a lot of it is simply hope on the part of hoteliers that a vaccine or an effective treatment will be rolled out at some point in the near future. In the meantime, they're introducing what are essentially stopgap measures to try to keep everyone safe and keep travel something that they would consider doing. So that is a bit of the in-between place that hoteliers are in right now. But we have seen a lot of indications that people are searching for travel, that there are advanced bookings that are starting to appear. And it may just be pent-up demand from people who have been stuck in their parents' basement or otherwise unable to travel in the near term. But there is some hope that the wanderlust of people generally will reemerge at some point.
All right, Sean Hennessey, NYU assistant professor. Great to have you on and to get your perspective. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.